you run Google Ads, you need to hear this. Google Ads in 2026 is not broken, but if you're trying to still run Google Ads with 10-year-old tactics, it is going to feel broken. You keep making changes, expecting those instant results, tweaking budgets and bids, and you'll keep wasting money blaming campaigns, trying to restructure accounts, and you'll keep missing the real problems because Google Ads doesn't work like it did in 2012. Back then, people discovered, they researched, they compared, and they bought through Google. You could increase the bids, you could move higher up the page, you could get more clicks, and often you would see more sales in the same hour, never mind the same day. But today, the buying journey has changed. And this is what most people get wrong about this today. They say Google Ads needs time to learn. It's AI, it's the algorithm. But genuinely, that is not the explanation. That's the phrase people repeat time and time again when they don't really understand what's actually happening. And the real question is this: why does Google Ads need time to learn when years ago you could just increase the bids and see results almost immediately? Yet, the reason Google changes have no immediate effect isn't restricted to Google. It applies to social media too. And this is what this video is really about. By the way, if you've not met me, I'm John Langley, founder of Click Convert Marketing. We've worked with thousands of e-commerce businesses and generated over 1.5 billion in revenue. I know it's a lot of zeros for our clients. So when I tell you the way most people run Google Ads is wrong, it's not some type of hot take that I've got or some type of cynical view. It's what I see every day on my team too. So let's get back to this. Who is this video for? It's for business owners, marketing managers and agency staff, because honestly, most people in these three groups have never had this properly explained to them. Business owners need to stop panicking and blaming your agency or your marketing manager every slow Tuesday. Marketing managers need the language to push back when someone demands instant results. And if you're interviewing Google Ads experts or agencies, this video will provide you invaluable questions to establish if you found yourself a real, genuine expert. And agency staff, most of you have never actually been trained on this. You've inherited the line, give the algorithm time to learn. Nobody has ever stopped and explained to you what it really means and why it isn't true. So we're going to get into this now. Google was the whole journey. I remember when I first saw the power of Google Ads. It was many years ago. I was working at a company that sold flights. It was called Tell Me, behind all the early flight booking engines, lastminute.com and everything. And at this particular client we were out on this day, they had around 100 operators sitting there ready to take calls for flights. It was lunchtime, was just coming to an end, and the office was quiet. The phones weren't exactly mad at all. And the guy I was with looked at me and he said, "John, watch this." And he went over to his PC, got to Google Ads, turned this campaigns on, bang, 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 and within 15 minutes the phones went from quiet to literally ringing off the hook. And I remember thinking, this is unbelievable. How can you control demand back like this? Because in those days, Google Ads was just like a tap. You turned it on and demand rushed through. Pause it and it just slowed right back down again. Turn it back on and within 15 minutes, you were back in the game. It was the golden age. And that is the version of Google Ads a lot of business owners still remember, which is exactly why when sales are slow, they still think, can we just move the bids up a bit? Can we change the budget? And I understand what you're trying to get to, but that world has gone. Google is now the checkout. It's not the whole journey anymore. And here is actually what has changed. Years ago, Google was often the whole buying journey. People discovered products there, they researched there, they compared, they clicked around, and they bought directly from Google. And today, by the time your customer gets to Google, they've already been influenced somewhere else. They may have watched a competitor of yours on YouTube. They may have seen an ad on social. They may have been reading Reddit threads. They've checked the Amazon reviews. They've received emails. Or they've already decided who they're going to trust before they've ever gone to Google just to do that final price check. Google is no longer where the journey starts. For most people, Google is where the journey ends. hence why I call it the checkout. It's no longer discovery, it's where people finish and make the purchase. Now, there are some important exceptions to this, so I'm not going to go off and try and persuade you it's just a checkout. If you're, say, I don't know, emergency plumber, a locksmith, a same-day courier, any business where the customer has an urgent problem, you know what I mean, I'm outside, I didn't know it was going to be this sunny today, the pipe suddenly bursts in the house now on this day, I don't fancy doing it, I'm going to call the plumber out. There's no funnel in these markets. They go straight to Google. They need a solution within the hour, and for those businesses, Google behaves pretty much as it's always done. It's just a tap you can turn on and off. But for the majority of businesses considering selling products or services, Google is about capturing demand that has been created somewhere else. And I've got this client that proved this, unfortunately. And it really clicked for me recently because of this client situation I'm going to tell you about. We had a client whose Meta account, it was being run in-house and it got hacked, unfortunately. Now, normally you don't get the chance to run a clean test where a business suddenly loses one of its main advertising channels overnight. Their Facebook and Instagram advertising just got stopped. Well, it was suspended because of the hack. And here's the interesting bit. The Meta ads themselves weren't directly generating any sales. They had this belief in them, but they could never see any conversions coming through. But when the Meta account disappeared, bang, the Google ads fell through the floor over the next 10 days. Suddenly, the pressure was on. It was the usual thing. Come on, can you increase the bids? Can we raise the budgets? Can we do something? Because we've got no Meta over here. But in truth, this is the wrong way to look at it because Google wasn't creating the demand they were trying to get back and replace with Google. Google was harvesting demand that had already been created elsewhere over here on Meta. The Meta ads were creating the familiarity. They were doing the introducing the product. They were putting the brand and the products into the customer's head. And then later, that person just does a check on Google and they search on Google and Google gets the credit for it, but Facebook was warming the buyer. So when Facebook disappeared, Google just didn't lose a separate advertising channel. Google lost the top of the funnel, the warm-up search demand phase, and Google was just left with cold traffic. But the biggest lesson for us was that Google sales were not generated on Google alone. They involved the whole funnel. And if the top of the funnel stops, it's going to affect the bottom of the funnel where we're closest to the sales. And that is always with Google Ads. So this is why slow Tuesdays, when you start thinking, oh, it's slow today, we need to do something, they're never about today. And this is a bit that people completely miss. When sales are slow at, say, 11 o'clock on a Tuesday, the instinct is to rush over the Google ads and do something, increase the bids, adjust the budget, change something. But that slow Tuesday almost was never caused by something that's happened today. It's been caused by something that happened 10, 20 days ago. Your funnel dried up 10 days ago. Maybe something went wrong in your social activity. Maybe your email campaign stopped. Maybe a competitor got in front of your buyers earlier in the journey 10 days ago. They had an amazing offer. Maybe that top of the funnel just didn't fill when the offer came out. And it could be anything. It could be the economy, the oil crisis, a sporting event. I don't know. Maybe the World Cup that's coming up. So now, 10 days later, we're here 10 days ago, and now 10 days later we're at the bottom of the funnel and we can't solve it with a bid change now at 11 o'clock. And we're seeing this so consistently with clients. They say, oh, can we go from 5,000 to 10,000? And if it doesn't work in 30 days, we'll pull it back. Hold on. That is not enough time because you're not just buying more of the same warm buyers when you scale Google Ads budgets, because this bottom of the funnel is often warm traffic now. So the first 5,000 was not the pure cold traffic. Lots of those buyers had been warmed up by demand gen, by social media. They'd seen you on Facebook, they'd seen you on Instagram, they'd watched a YouTube video, they clicked an email. So when you try to double the budget, you're not automatically buying more of the same people at the bottom. You're moving beyond the people that have already been introduced to you. Now you're trying to reach colder people, comparison shoppers, early stage researchers, people who've already got another supplier in their head. And that's a completely different job. The old logic, and I understand it, was increase Google Ads budget, we get more sales because of this huge cold traffic band at the bottom here. The new logic is increase the warm activity, increase the demand, then Google Ads captures that demand at the bottom of the funnel later. And let's not forget that if you want to scale, you're not buying 10K of extra traffic on day one, you're spreading that over the whole month. So only at the end of the 30 days do you have the top of the funnel filled, and some traffic is working its way down through the conversion phases, some's coming in for the size, but it's taking time to work through. And it may take 60 days and 90 days. In some markets, it may take 6 months to properly build the demand funnel that later turns into profitable Google searches and conversions. So it's not that AI needs time to learn, it takes time for your audience to flow down through the funnel. You need the meta at the top, your YouTube, your display, your email, your demand gen, because those are the things that create the people that then Google later captures for you. And increasing bids today cannot immediately add you more warm traffic at the bottom that's going to suddenly flow through the funnel today. So now I want to be clear, increasing bids is not completely useless. It does have an effect. But the problem is the time frame that people expect. They go in, they increase the bids, you've probably done it, you're sitting there and you're waiting for sales to change within the hour. But as we've just talked about, it's not how it works anymore. Those bid changes now need to work their way through the funnel, through the layers, through the awareness, consideration, conversion. The effect is real, but it now takes a long time to show up. And for most businesses running Performance Max or smart bidding, this is days or weeks. It's not minutes or hours. Now, if you're running manual CPC, enhanced CPC on pure search campaigns with genuine cold search volume traffic, bid changes still do have an effect. They are more direct. But even then, the ability to quickly shift your position the way you could a couple of years ago, it has become much harder. The platform has changed around you, even though the campaign types haven't. So why do we have Performance Max and Smart Bidding? Why do they exist? And why does Google keep pushing this Performance Max, Demand Gen and Smart Bidding onto you? Because Google knows that most advertisers are not going to build a proper full funnel system themselves. It's really a hard task. You're running this business. You've got stock problems, warehousing problems, customer service problems. You've got cash flow, you've got the VAT return. And there's no way in hell most advertisers are going to have the time to build the whole funnel properly. So Google's trying to automate it. That's what Performance Max, Demand Gen and Smart Bidding is really about. Google is trying to make this complicated full funnel advertising system look simple from the outside. And you can see this when you go into Performance Max asset groups. Google asks you, like I said, for your logos, your product images, your headlines. In effect, Google is saying, give us the ingredients, we'll go away and we'll create you the advertising layers and funnel that you need. It will try and move the people down through the awareness, consideration, education phases and get to the point that you actually care about, which is the sales at the bottom of the funnel. And that's their idea. And that's why it feels so different from the old days. Google is still trying to sell advertisers the same simple dream. Set up ads, get sales. But underneath, the machine is trying to do much, much more. It is really complicated. In fairness to Performance Max, it's often operating with one hand tied behind its back too. Too many advertisers don't really have high quality landing pages, images, promotions, and their pricing is often less than ideal. And the warning from this is, good numbers are often not always a good sign. Once you understand that Performance Max is building you a funnel, you can understand why listing only Performance Max campaigns are so good. You know, I've talked about this many times. If you take an asset group and you remove most of the assets and basically what you leave it with is just a product listing group, what are you really doing? You've decided not to build a funnel. You're mostly picking up traffic that's already warm at the bottom from your other paid channels. These people may already know your product, your brand, your website, and let's not forget, you're still going to have cold traffic there, but this cold traffic's not infinite, but it is there. In the old days, it used to be infinite. So yes, you can generate these very high ROIs because you're harvesting demand that already exists. That's why Google really does not want you turning off your brand terms. Brand traffic is the warm traffic it needs. Those people already know you. They already have some level of trust or familiarity. So of course, those clicks are going to convert better. Of course, the ROI is going to look amazing. It's going to look great. But what does that mean? It means you haven't built a scalable engine using that technique. It means you've become very good at harvesting people who are already close to buying, and that unfortunately is a small pool. That's why listing only PMax shopping traffic can make the numbers look brilliant, but they still leave you completely stuck when you try to scale. Unlimited warm demand is not the same as scalable growth. If you're not building the funnel, you're not creating these future buyers that Google can later capture for you. And in fairness, Google has one major weakness here. Yes, Google has YouTube, which is the second biggest search engine. It's massive. People go there to learn, compare, watch reviews, understand products, and make decisions. It's the biggest place people go for education. But what Google does not really have, let's be honest about this, it doesn't have proper social. And that really does matter because a huge amounts of demand is now created socially. People see products on Meta, they discover brands on TikTok, they read conversations on Reddit, they follow creators, they get warmed up before they ever search. And this is exactly what we saw with that client on Facebook whose account was unfortunately hacked. 7 to 10 days later, after that channel disappeared, the whole funnel dried up and they were left with cold traffic. And there is nowhere near the volume of cold traffic that they wanted or imagined was there. So if you want to scale your business, the sale will ultimately finish on Google Ads, but it's not where the journey starts. And you cannot solve the awareness problem with bid changes 10 days after the customers normally discover you. You cannot solve a trust problem with a revised ROAS target. And you cannot create warm buyers at 10 a.m. because sales are slow. Google moved towards AI because the buying journey became too fragmented for most advertisers to manage manually. Google's using AI really to build you funnels. They know it's too much to ask of most advertisers. And the downside of the Google AI funnel building is that changes do take place immediately at the bottom of the funnel, but at the top of the funnel, they can be days away and you're expecting this change to immediately take place. So today, when you think it's slow and I want to change the bids and I want to increase them, you do. And for that limited amount of cold traffic, it will make a small change. But what you're really doing is you're now making bid changes to traffic that is 10 days out. That traffic will filter through. And that's why everybody who's in marketing is telling you, you've got to give time for the AI to learn, for it to find out how it's operating. That is not strictly true. It's not about the AI learning. It's about that it's going to take 10 days or more for these people to come down through the funnel and get to the bottom of it. So that's why you can't, well, you can make the changes, but don't expect immediate results because these new customers you suddenly want to get in to make the change at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday are basically, they're not going to turn up until maybe a week on Friday. So I hope you can see the points I'm trying to get to. Performance Max, all the smart biddings, what they've really done is they are building you funnels, and those funnels take time for people to transition down through. So making immediate changes does affect every stage of the funnel, but those customers are going to take 10 days to work through. If you're experiencing wasted ad spend, you can't trust the data, the ROI is poor, you're not scaling, you're not getting the results you really want or you deserve, well, guess what? We've got the answer for you with perfect repeatable ads. It's our Google Ads system. And it's not that we're more transparent, open, it's the fact that we've helped thousands of e-commerce stores and businesses needing leads. We've generated 1.5 billion in revenue for our clients. And we offer a 20-minute consulting review with you. There's a QR code on the screen, there's a link in the description, or you can go and visit our website, clickconvertmarketing.com. So Let's talk about your ads account. I guarantee you'll walk away from it smarter than when you went into it.